Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host, and I'd like to ask you, do you know who Laura Eisenhower is? Well, if you don't, it's about time to find out. I've known about her for over 10 years. I'm a huge follower, supporter of her great work, and I'm so happy and blessed that she can be a guest on Energy Stew. So I'll briefly just give you a bit of her bio. Laura Eisenhower is a global alchemist, researcher, and medical and intuitive astrologist. She is an internationally acclaimed speaker who has presented her work worldwide. Laura is the great-granddaughter of President Dwight David Eisenhower, and she reveals exopolitical information about his administration that has been largely held in secret. She is considered by many to be one of North America's leading researchers and experts on health, exopolitics, alchemy, metaphysics, astrology, galactic history. So that's just a start. I want to cut this short because I want Laura to really show us why she's doing what she does and what her purpose is. And it's so beautiful. I'm so thrilled. Laura, welcome to Energy Stew.
It's wonderful to be here with you, Peter. Thank you for having me. It's always wonderful to have conversations with you, and getting to know you has just been so wonderful.
Well, thank you. Really, appreciate that a lot. And so I'm excited because I have been following your work for, at least a decade, and always impressed with the areas that you work in, and even like on your own podcast, the amazing guests you have, and what you know. And I love your astrology readings, not just personal, but about life on this planet. And it's amazing how, not just that you're an astrologer, but you're maybe the most adept astrologer who I've heard, because you have such a depth of knowledge about it. But one of the things I really love about you is that you're playing the Eight of Hearts card. And that's the master of the heart. And so everything about you, I think what people love as much as your information is the heart you put into it, and how you have such passion in your work and purpose. So it's so wonderful to talk with you and watch and listen and hear what you express, because I'm always so excited about you. So I wanted to ask you, of these things in your bio that I read, and there was a lot more that I hadn't gotten to, because I want to ask you what you're excited about right now. What is your maybe purpose, or what projects you're working on that really has your heart?
Oh, wow. Good question. I'm just excited about just people waking up. And when we say waking up, it's about just reclaiming your own personal truth and sovereignty, and just a greater understanding of yourself, being more soul-centered and more in touch with, your own, thoughts and visions and dreams and ideas, and, people that are just more willing to unplug from just the matrix, the inversions, the distortions, the ancestral patterns, the programmings, and how difficult that can be, but also how much, it's a reunion with yourself, with Mother Earth, and with just, really being able to switch on our greater, abilities that would otherwise lay dormant if we didn't go through certain things to help activate them, which is what we talked about in our last show together, how adversity can open us up to like finding more of all that we are, instead of being victimized and giving our power away. So I love seeing people leverage these adversities and challenges in self-discovery and a true kind of healing. And I'm excited about that and the clients that I work with. As far as projects that I have, I'm really looking forward to going back to England, where I was born. I'm going to be doing a conference in Avebury and Glastonbury, and my son's going to be going to school as a piano technician in England and just getting back to that part of the world, and just knowing how healing it's going to be for me on a just deep soul level. I'm really excited about that. So yeah, the one thing that excites me the most is, that when people have hardships, diseases, injuries, adversities, and different life events that really just kind of like throw them off, that, that they are starting to more see it as an initiation and embrace, the challenge of like, what is it really trying to show us on a bigger picture level, instead of, constantly answering to something that's going to like solve it and fix it. But we have multi-generational programs that have been passed down to us, and being born into this family and understanding the events that took place after the Second World War, and that we didn't really win the war and we're really dealing with a war on consciousness. I'm really excited about people like being open enough to see the things that we didn't learn in school, in our history classes, in the books, in our science, classes, that there's so much more about ourselves that we aren't being told, that we can begin to discover when we pursue that curiosity and that kind of calling within ourselves to, go beyond. And that's what you have done. And that's why I love talking to you, because there's just so much more to explore about ourselves. And I think that's like what the awakening is all about. Is like, whoa, there's other ways that we can heal. There's other ways that we can, embrace, our history and looking like galactic history. We don't learn that in school, and on a spiritual level, like we can kind of put down those books or what we've been passed down, like as far as like the religious or any kind of like indoctrination. We can begin to look at like what's really in our DNA. What is that junk DNA? Isn't there more to like all of this? It's like opening up to the galactic and the multidimensional, and where all possibilities we can tap into in order to like manifest miracles and breakthroughs. Like that story you told when I interviewed you, just pushing the boundaries of, these limitations, and, the warrior spirit, and how like, it can just, prove things, that seem to be impossible, and say, what, we've got a greater human potential than we can possibly imagine. And to accept that challenge, I'm really excited about when people are ready to accept that challenge in their lives.
and everything about you represents what you just said. And for instance, you have regular podcasts with amazing guests because you know them. You're out there in the world meeting people who are making huge progress for others, and you want them to do that on your show because you hold it. These are all vehicles of your own mind exploring and loving new ideas and meeting people who are really exceptional. And a lot of it is because there's so much unknown about us, about our history, about who we really are, that we have no idea about. We're in this third dimensional world thinking this is it, and we're all multidimensional beings. But what does that mean? And what does awakening mean? What is it when we're awakened? Does that mean we just don't sleep as much? I don't know. I do know with my own world.
More conscious.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But what does that mean? That's the point. Is that what does more conscious do for us that we have no idea about?
When we're in autopilot, or we're just operating in an unconscious state, we're just, answering to everything that, is an outer authority, or just the work we have to like go to, and just the job, and putting a roof over our head and paying the bills, and just going through all the motions of life, of going through the school systems, getting married and all that, and that's all wonderful, but like there's so many deeper layers that we're experiencing on a soul level that we want to be really conscious of and mindful of, so that when something doesn't resonate or feel right, we're willing to challenge it. We're willing to dig a little bit deeper. We're willing to, go down the rabbit holes and just explore a little bit more. And that's why what, you and I have in common is, working with different oracles or tools and modalities like the I Ching or Tarot, or human design and astrology is, self-discovery, so that we're not just on autopilot. We're not unconscious. When we're awake, we have explored the unconscious and what's been dormant, so that when we shine a light on it, we can see the creative imagination, we can see the multidimensional, we can see other possibilities, we can be more co-creative. If we don't like the script that life is handing us, we can be empowered to create change, be inventive and resourceful, cultivate wisdom and appreciate the downloads coming in, this higher intelligence that is showing us something that we can't learn in school. Is what life experience teaches us. It's what adversity teaches us. Is what, when we travel and visit other cultures, it just opens up our mind to so much more. And we're here to learn about our human vessel and explore it and discover it. And we know that we're not using the full capacity of our brain. We know we have dormant DNA. We should be curious to discover, what are these pieces of ourselves that we haven't switched on? And when we begin to explore it, we're not so unconscious. We begin to awaken to a much larger picture. And that's what, the dumbing down of society and just what we see with a lot of the different psyops and a lot of different narratives being steered and a lot of indoctrination programs. It's people are very much in this dependency bond with this outer system, everything externalized. We need to go more inward and look at these adversities or physical symptoms or challenges in our life is an opportunity to open up doorways, open up our consciousness, and expand into so much more. And I feel Mother Earth and this nature and the cycles of nature, and just when we need to purge and release, when we have an idea, that we have an outlet to share it, when we feel a creative force within us, that we paint it or we express ourselves on a physical level, and just step away a bit. What really helped me is, growing up outside of or near the DC area and being kind of lost, and really just, I got what I got out of the school systems, but I was not a very good student. And I was probably had the worst attendance in my high school. And I just really had no direction. I just went into wilderness expedition leadership and just going into nature. It really helped me to find myself instead of beholding the stigmas and projections that were on me for not maybe being a good student, not being able to sit still in class, being kind of distracted. It's ADHD or learning disabilities. And I'm like, wait a second, but I'm curious about all these other things and I'm exploring all these other things, and I recognize that I was a selective learner, that I'm very good when I pursue the things that I have passion and interest about. I'm not so good at the things that I just don't think I'm really going to use in my life. So my attention isn't really there. My attention is over here. And so I had to teach myself to honor that and follow, that direction instead of try and fit into something that I really wasn't fitting into. I had too many questions, too many question marks, and I wanted to just dig deeper, which I did. So when I had those wilderness experiences, it helped me to kind of unplug from it all the projections, all the programs, all the, where I felt lost and confused and where this deeper passion and same in relationships, it's like, is that really the way it's supposed to be? I was all about sacred union, something much deeper. And so when I had those wilderness experiences, I got so connected to Mother Earth and just nature and interacting with the animals and starting to move into the field of nutrition. And I started the first organic shipping and delivery company to take care of chemically sensitive people back in the early 90s before Whole Foods, and just really about clean living and pure food and organic food. And then I went into metaphysics and, using these tools and modalities to understand what is the root of disease, what is the root of mental illness and all these different things. And just exploring the depth of these deeper things and helping to let go of these stigmas of, you're just distracted or you have this problem or this issue or this flaw, or you're just not succeeding very well in the system. And then I kind of just made my own way and built my own sort of thing based on the knowledge that I discovered on my own terms because of my own curiosity and quest for my own self-discovery that I would assist other people in doing so that they could find themselves and begin to unplug and then reinsert themselves perhaps to be an influence, because the thing is, there's a lot of people that do well in their careers and they're able to have their own unique style, come through, but sometimes people are very controlled. So the arts and music, and there's a lot more freedom there. But, there's a lot of people that are healers, though. So if they're a doctor or a nurse, or they're pursuing being a teacher, where are they hitting a wall where they can't express their teaching or their calling to be in the medical field? Where are they hitting a wall? Can they begin to direct that energy into, exploring a different path that allows them more, freedom of, what their soul is calling them to do? And so I made that a priority in my life, regardless of what anybody else thought. But it was a very lonely road, which I know we all know, when you decide to just kind of take that risk and sort of exit the matrix and find your own way. So I was amazed when I started to be a public speaker and people started taking me seriously. And that's why I'm touched that somebody as brilliant as you has like followed me, because I was just very used to like, oh, Laura's just really out there. Oh, she's kind of crazy. And all these other ideas and concepts she has is just kind of like, shut up, kind of ignore her, and just like, so, but I never gave up. And I just gave myself a voice for my own inner dialogue to just enjoy just my discoveries. And then I realized there's so many other people that, have explored this. And of course, other cultures and traditions. But some of that have become lost to us because they're not something that we show up to third period class. Like, you don't go to third period to take galactic history, or to study the I Ching, or to study, the chakras, or how to grow food, or how. So, it's very important that we encourage ourselves and our children, to dive into these interests, because when they're blocked, that's where I feel the root of diseases. When we're locked into a programming, the body produces symptoms and is trying to tell us, I'm not vibing with this. This is not in resonance. So that's an opportunity to get to know ourselves better, because I feel like we're here for soul development, and not just answering to the world of appearances and answering to the reward system. We have to redefine our self-worth. And I did. And, it doesn't mean like I'm fully there. I still struggle with my own stuff and triggers, and, but I embrace the challenge. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, well, no, it was wonderful to listen. And some of it is so much that you have to explain about things that open us up to new horizons. And the other is just, I just love watching you be a pioneer, and you're opening new doors all the time. And then you said sometimes it's lonely, and what it is that you open a new door and all of a sudden you see another door in front of you that hasn't been opened yet, and you're the only one who can open it. Then you do that, and so it's door after door after door that can be mind-blowing, because these are all new things, new ideas. And that's what we want to share with the public, is that embrace new, embrace different, step out of the box and be also a pioneer of consciousness. And so it's wonderful to watch that at work in you, and how you have taken adversity and in the struggle in your life, and found great purpose by exploring and stepping into the natural world, and let it teach you. And then, to me, one of your great gifts also is astrology, and how that not only is what you can tell everyone else, but what you show yourself is where we're headed. The astrology is pointing and showing where the new doors can be. And I love to hear your astrology readings, because they're always so profound. And you're a great teacher.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, I thing with astrology is, it's so interesting to understand, how planetary systems have been manipulated, like the planetary grid network on this planet Earth, with dark technologies, reversal grid technologies, and things like the Saturn moon matrix, and, understanding more about the moon, and, secret space programs, and all this kind of bigger picture stuff. It helps me as an astrologer to navigate it a little bit, knowing that there's certain octaves or energetics connected to these planetary systems that have been like weaponized or utilized in a way that, you know, kind of keeps us in the lower mind or kind of keeps us in imbalance, but also how when we move through those challenges and obstacles that come in the form of multi-generational programs, ancestral programs, societal programs, how we can begin to unlock it and move to the higher octaves of what those planetary energies represent, that actually help us to heal, help us to, you know, access the higher mind, the creative imagination. Like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are the great outer planets. And to me, they're the initiatory planets. And when we are not in resonance with it, we tend to struggle with what those initiations provide. For example, Uranus is the planet of shock and upheaval that leads to great awakening and helping us to find sovereignty. But if we're having a hard time assimilating that or integrating that, we can have nervous breakdowns, we can have tons of anxiety, we can feel like nervous system tension, and because we're not like comfortable with it, because the system is not wanting us to be free thinkers. It doesn't want us to have that level of independence. It wants to have control. So we have to like kind of see, the chart helps us to see like, well, what's standing in the way? Is it coming from a parent? Is it coming from society? Is it coming from an inner voice that's not really your voice, that was projected upon you and instilled within you, that makes it really difficult for you to just feel a sense of inner liberation, to express yourself fully and completely? You know, and then Pluto, death, rebirth, alchemy, and transformation. If you're in fear of death, if you're not in harmony with these cycles of these plutonic energies, you know, you might just give your power away and be in so much fear of death that you can't really like live to your fullest. And since 2020, with everything that we know that we've been dealing with, they really leveraged some of these conjunctions of Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn, which really marked a huge shift in consciousness, of sort of a rebirth of humanity, of an ability to kind of transform as a humanity. And boom, the psyops came in and created nothing but like the fear of death, the fear of each other, you know, and the stuck plutonic energy has to do with like viruses and pathogens, but that's all because it's stagnant energy that's locked in the birth canal, that is not able to emerge because it's built a prison wall around itself, because it doesn't trust that something metamorphic and alchemical is actually taking place, which is the greater initiation of Pluto. With Neptune, it's all about belief systems. If it's infected by, you know, just distortions and, you know, belief systems that aren't really in resonance with our capacity to tap into knowledge and the dream realms and visions that, you know, we want to manifest into our life, and we're locked up into, you know, doom and gloom, or this is what reality is, and our creative channels are infected, then we're not able to move through those, you know, Neptune kind of initiations. So there's the lower octaves that have been very much weaponized in our societies, in the artificial matrix. And then there's the bigger picture that is connected to cosmic forces, divine, natural law, cosmic divine law, and Mother Earth, and how that is encoded in our DNA to begin to expand upon and open up to, that these alignments and initiations help us with, that our star map can help us navigate a bit better. And I love that you do human design, and I haven't explored it as much as you have. And I'm going to dive right in, you know, when we do a session together and begin to understand it, because I know that, you know, with the tools and modalities or oracles that you work with, this is what it's all about, like self-discovery and you know, knowing that so knowing that there's these sort of weaponized kind of lower inversions that utilize these planetary forces and energies, which is why there's often a psyops when there's a huge potential for human consciousness or the collective to take a leap. That's usually when a big psyop or false flag takes place to kind of cripple our progress, like 9/11, or like some of the, you know, and the root races have been at war with each other when we're supposed to integrate and share these codes to rebuild the 12-strand DNA structure and not be pit against each other, which is very much how they've used social media and indoctrination in our school systems, and leveraging the historical wounds that we all carry to put us in these kind of race wars or root race wars, when we're really here to share those codes to rebuild the structure of our DNA, because we're not functioning at our full capacity. Right. And we got to see what is trying to get in the way of that, so they maintain control over us being confused and scattered and out of balance. because that's where they can feed on it, because it's vampiric. When
And
we
this
can
is
cut the cords of it, we can see that
right.
these alignments are helping us to rehabilitate and rebuild and remember and awaken to all the truth of who we are and where we really came from and what an advanced species we can actually be.
I love this. And that's why we need you so much, because you have so many tools to work with, and you explore this with so many other profound people who you know and add to your podcasts. So we're getting near the end of the show, and I'd like people to find out how they can learn more from you.
Yeah, so my website's cosmicgaia.org, and I do Zoom events.
Right.
.org.
Right.
Yes, and I have a subscription thing, and I do Zoom events. I do one-on-one check-in calls with people. I do discounted sessions for subscribers. I do astro reports, and I work with a lot of like healing products. And I do events. I do interviews on my podcast. I got the chance to interview you, and this is, I think, why we have such a connection, because we're definitely that whole kind of needing to prove ourselves, not necessarily to other people, but, prove ourselves, like that, whatever projection or whatever stigma that we might have carried, that, we don't have to carry that around, and we don't have to carry the burden of other people's ignorance around in our system. We can lead by example. We can be activators, by just living our truth and just following our heart and our soul. And to me, being soul-centered is the energy of ascension and awakening.
Right.
And that's where we find soul family and people that are in more resonance with ourselves. And we can begin to let go of the ones that don't understand us. We can still love them from afar, but we don't need to be bound to those connections. Even if we're lost for a little while, you'll always be found. That's just a temporary, passage. So I love to assist people in living their truth and feeling a community support to help redirect their energy into something that can really tap into what they're really here for, what their divine purpose is, and to not be compromised anymore and controlled or limited, because, we have to redefine our self-worth and find a new way to love ourselves, not defined from these outer forces, but defined by something that we can cultivate within, and help one another see it through the lens of something much deeper and more profound than what we've been given. So thank you so much, Peter, for having me. I hope,
thank you. You've been so wonderful, and you really got into it, and I just enjoyed listening and appreciating where you come from, and it's so beautiful. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to be with you. I look forward to what more we'll create. And I know I'm going to meet you in New York at the end of October, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah, me too.
So thanks for your audience for listening, and definitely stay in touch.
Great. And this is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.live. I can be reached at peter@heartriver, HEART river.org. I'd love to hear from you, and thanks so much for listening.